Good afternoon. It is Saturday, the 26th of April, 2014. You're watching KTN Weekend at 1. My name is Najma Ismail. We start off this bulletin with a bomb scare from Kibera. Residents of Mayani in Kibera were yesterday evacuated from their homes after a bomb scare late in the night. Patrons of a bar reported that they had spotted a man who hung a strange object on a fence under cover of darkness. He fled before he could be apprehended, leaving behind the object. Persons living near the building which hosts a bank raised the alarm and they called the police, while others evacuated residents from their homes. Bomb experts who arrived at the scene later ascertained that the device was not a bomb as feared. The incident comes just days after an improvised explosive device exploded outside Pangani police station, killing 4 people, among them 2 police officers. Now, moving on, we take the story from the KWS Director. William Kiprono has promised residents of Narok that anybody who gives reports to the authorities on the activities of poachers will be rewarded. Kiprono spoke as he met with the security agencies in Narok County. Yesterday, he urged the security arms to work together in tracking and thwarting attempts of poachers and smugglers of ivory.
I think as Kenya Wildlife Service, we don't give that whatever. The law is very clear.
Kenya Wildlife Service, a shoot to kill order.
That was an internal issue. That was an administrative issue. These people judgment is there. We have the county, and our role as the national government as well as the county government is to work together to ensure that we protect this resource that is very important to all of us. It is the pride of this country in terms of the wildlife that we have. What we are only doing is that now we are upping our game. We are trying to come up with intelligence-based kind of approach to security where we are able to use our intelligence to arrest some of these people. In terms of equipment, we are going now to use technology in terms of addressing wildlife crime in this country.
Now, still on the uproar over Kalonzo's remarks 2 days ago, some youth in Murang'a have asked the leadership core to reprimand the former vice president. The youth who marched down the streets of Murang'a town with placards said the remarks were careless and aimed at dividing Kenyans along tribal lines. Those in the group who claim to be supporters of the ODM party threatened to quit ODM if their leader does not speak against Kalonzo's utterances.
Yale matamshi Mheshimiwa Kalonzo aliongea, pia sisi ametuumiza, especially kama sisi wanafunzi. Si tuko kabila mingi, na hata jana alipotamka hayo matamshi ilibidi mpaka wengine wetu watoroke sababu kulikuwa na hisia tofauti tofauti.
Tungetaka aseme ni pole na tuishi pamoja kama wananchi wa Kenya.
Now, even as Ethiopia called for foreign troops inside South Sudan to pull out to avoid a regional conflict, South Sudanese President Salva Kiir asked the Ugandan forces to help secure key installations in the capital, Juba. Ethiopian Prime Minister Desalegn Hailemariam has claimed that involvement of other countries might bring in other foreign interests that will not help the search for peace. Salva Kiir yesterday announced the release of 4 top leaders accused of rebellion and treason in a move aimed at ending the fighting. The detention of the 4 has been a sticky issue in the peace talks being in Addis Ababa.
Gradually to Juba, and later on they will pull out gradually from Juba to the border until when they enter their country. And we discussed that thing with President Museveni. Of course, he did not accept pulling out immediately.
Now, 3 suspected gangsters were shot dead by police officers last evening in Muega area of Kieni in Nyeri County. One suspect escaped with gunshot wounds. According to the Kieni West OCPD John Kimboy, the 3 men and a woman had been under surveillance since Thursday morning when they are alleged to have been involved in a robbery at a bank in Karatina. Now, during the robbery, a passerby was shot and injured. The OCPD said police tracked them from Muega Trading Center, where they were suspected to be planning another crime. Police officers recovered an AK-47 rifle, 4 rounds of ammunition, assorted ATM cards, driving licenses, identity cards, and cash. Members of the public have been alerted to be on the lookout for a person with gunshot wounds.
We believe this is a gang that's terrorizing between Karatina, Nyeri, and Jaga. One suspect has escaped with some injuries, and will seek treatment within. So please, if you see somebody, and I appeal to the doctors, especially the doctors and the nurses, please, if you see somebody with injuries, don't treat. Let somebody tell you what happened. If he has got no B3, he has got no police reference, call the police or the nearest police officer.
News Just In indicates that Deputy President William Ruto has said the executive is not planning to pay the Anglo leasing debts. News from Gatundu is that Ruto has said only Parliament can approve such payments, and the last word will come from the National Assembly. But was the government planning to lose the Anglo leasing cases from the start? Well, new details obtained by KTN suggest that the government of President Mwai Kibaki failed to pay the lawyers who were defending the case and gave them scanty briefs. Correspondence between the lawyers and the Attorney General's office at the time expose seemingly reluctant office of the Attorney General. Former Justice Minister Martha Karua and former PS John Githongo both confirmed that the government never took the cases seriously. KTN's Jurgio now reports on the new twist after news that Kenya plans to pay a whopping 125 billion shillings to the fictitious company.
When David Muirari announced that billions of shillings from the Anglo leasing scandal had been refunded in 2004, many Kenyans thought that would mark the end of a bad dream. Nearly a decade later, the ghost is back.
Quite frankly, I would be very, very interested myself to find somebody who knows what we are paying for.
John Githongo served as President Kibaki's special advisor on corruption and was forced into exile following his secret recording of conversations of top government officials allegedly urging him to slow down on his probe of the scandals. He's puzzled by the latest decision to pay the fictitious companies some 125 billion shillings.
Definitely it should not have been paid because we did not know who we were paying or for what we were paying. So, extremely sad we find ourselves in this kind of situation.
The government argues that it has lost the cases filed by the shadowy companies and therefore has no choice but to pay up. But new details obtained by KTN now suggest that the government may have been setting itself up for failure in defending the cases filed by the companies. KTN has learned that not only did the government fail to provide a proper brief to the lawyers who are defending the case, but it also failed to pay their legal fees. On the 7th May 2007, the government lawyer Johnson Wambugu writes to the then Information Minister Mutahi Kagwe. He's worried about his constant trips to the United Kingdom to liaise with Solicitor Michael Whiten, also engaged by the government. Kindly also look at the issues of my fees, as this has been a very expensive exercise, he says, considering the cost of travel and accommodation. I have had to use my resources to achieve what has been achieved to date. Martha Karua was Justice Minister at the time.
There were complaints by some of the lawyers. They were not being given instructions. They were not being given documents. They were not being paid. And when you fail to pay your lawyer and to give instructions, you basically want to lose the case.
Karua says some government insiders were always reluctant to have the cases proceed.
I came to know of an instance where the then Attorney General had instructed the Deputy Solicitor General to write to the firm asking them to withdraw the defense of fraud.
In December 2008, a frustrated John Wambugu writes again, this time to the Permanent Secretary, Bitange Ndemo. He has copied him a letter written by Kenya's defense lawyers to a Miss Muthoni Kimani from the Attorney General's chambers. I do not understand why there continues to be a delay in this matter in settling the outstanding costs and taking the necessary steps in mediation, he says. And then again, the issue of payment. In May of 2008, the then Kenya Anti-Corruption Chief, Aaron Ringera, wrote to the Department of Federal Justice and Police in Switzerland, seeking mutual assistance to help in unraveling the mystery surrounding the contracts. At the time, Ringera said the award of the contracts had failed to comply with procurement regulations, that contractual prices had been massively inflated, that the contract could not be fully implemented, and that the people who signed the contract were not genuine employees of the company.
We are being told to pay so that we can get loans. I know that the law in England and the law in all countries that we know of do not encourage fraud.
The current President Uhuru Kenyatta led a parliamentary team all the way to London while he was opposition leader to question Githongo over the Anglo leasing scam in 2006.
So it was the view of the current president when he was chairing that Public Accounts Committee that all these Anglo leasing cases were fraudulent.
The Anglo leasing saga, which began in the dying moments of the KANU administration in 2002, has outlived two successive governments. But this latest attempt to pay out a whopping 125 billion shillings could yet be the most definitive stage in the decade-old saga. Jogeo, KTN.